Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to play my little Monday morning motivator theme song to kick off here.
It's the Monday morning motivator with Magoch.
Hey, look, we make things happen, right? So, good morning. Welcome. It's Monday. It is the best day of the week. And today we're going to be talking about how to design and complete your very own sales playbook. Some of you have a sales playbook template already. Some of you don't have one yet. If you don't, I can definitely hook you up with that. But today's Monday. We're well into second quarter, a week in. So whatever your sales goals are, I hope you've developed a plan to reach them this week. If it's your first time joining us for Monday Morning Motivator, it's free to join. This is our Monday morning sales meeting where we get together to stay accountable for where we're going in our business. You can ask me questions ahead of time. I will answer them in this meeting. And we talk about a topic that can help us launch or fuel us through the week for our sales, especially for direct sales teams and companies that want to scale. So thank you for joining me, especially those commission-based salespeople and all the people in the sales launch code. Mwah. Okay, so as you know, we start off with accountability. What were your numbers last week? Let's take a moment to figure out where we were last week so that we can change some things and create new targets for next week. So we're talking about what kind of marketing activities did you do? How many of those activities turned into leads? How many leads turned into discovery sessions? How many discovery sessions turned into presentations or demos or consults? And how many of those turned into sales? And then finally, how many referrals did you get? So typically the funnel looks like this, and you'll be, your conversion ratios will be decreasing as you go down, and then they'll open back up with referrals, and then they'll go back to the top as you replenish your pipeline with referrals that you get off of every sale. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to meeting 1 because we spend a long time talking about what those different phases are and how to properly track your numbers so that you can control the predictability of your business. It's so important, whether you're an independent salesperson or running a 100-person direct sales team. Keeping track of your metrics is the key to understanding where your weak points are so that you can work on changing them. And guys, my mom's an interior designer, so I asked her to help me a little bit with my shelf. And I gotta warn you, I hear footsteps out there. Both of my kids are homesick today, and they might, join us or interrupt us at any moment. I do hear Tony, no. Thank you. Okay. Not only that, it's like, oh, guys, don't interrupt me during my sales meeting, okay? And then it's like a dramatic entrance. Can you be like, no. Okay. So, you know what? My phone's probably dead, and he's wondering what he's going to do this time. So go back to meeting 1 if you don't know what those metrics are, because they're uber important. And now we're on to, so fast, our marketing minute. So every week I share with you one thing that's working for me in marketing and one tip that you can take into your business today, totally for free. So today's tip is on SEO, or search engine optimization. And regardless of whether you're building a website as your main form of lead generation or not, knowing what your customers want to learn about is really important part of any service provider or product, right? So whether you're using what I'm going to share with you to create content for your blog, or to create programs or lessons, or to better be able to communicate with your audience, or what they want to see in their newsletters, or even like what's their big need right now? What are they wondering about that you can help them with? What's the language that they use to explain their problem? And a huge tool for that I've been using for years is Google Keyword Planner. Now, I'll put the link below. You can't actually get into Keyword Planner anymore unless you have a Google AdWords account, but just create an account. I believe you do not have to actually advertise to get access to the tool, but you need to create your account and put your billing information and everything as if you were going to use Google AdWords to do advertisements. But then you'll get access to this Keyword Planner, which is really valuable. The Keyword Planner is where Google can tell you who's searching for what and how many searches are taking place on a monthly basis for those set of keywords. And so being the largest search platform ever, an owner of YouTube, which also is, any videos that you're posting to help drive your business all through Google is the main place. And I assume you could even use these keywords in other search platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn, where people are going to search for information, or Pinterest. But this is specifically what people are searching on Google. And what you do is you open up the Keyword Planner and you type in, you can start with your website or a competitor's website to see what keywords are getting people there. Now, typically it is that, if it's a big name, it's that company's name that's driving traffic. People are searching directly for that. But under that, you'll see other keywords that are driving people to that website. And then you can also add keywords that your business focuses on. So for me, it's like sales plans, sales strategies, sales playbooks, sales recruiting, building sales teams, direct sales teams. I'll throw all of those into Google, and I want to make sure it's specific too, because I could say sales and we'll get million searches on like Nordstrom sales or something, and that's irrelevant to what I do. So make sure you'll make sure that you're using the relevant keywords so that you're not bringing traffic in that's irrelevant to what you're actually doing. But you pop in those keywords, and then it's going to show you how many monthly searches people are doing on those keywords. And it'll give you suggestions as to other phrases. And so that's hugely valuable, because especially if you've been in your industry for a very long time, you're an expert at what you do, you might be used to using certain terms to talk about your business that your client doesn't use, especially if they're first starting to solve this problem, right? So for instance, actually, it used to be when I first started writing sales playbooks that people didn't actually search for the term sales playbook, because it wasn't a commonly used word and people didn't know what it was. So that's not what they were searching for. They were searching for sales plan. But now people actually search for sales playbook equally as much as sales plan or sales strategy, which shows over time, the popularity of it increased as people got familiar with the term, and also sales playbook template. Hence my topic for today's meeting, because I can share with you and you can share with your audience what you think they want to learn about. But if you pop into a tool like that, you can actually find out what they really are searching for and then address that topic. Now, one, that's hugely valuable to your audience, right? And people who provide value get the business as experts. But on the other hand, it also increases your SEO when you put that onto your website, whether in the form of a blog or a page or a service, and you're using those keywords. That tells Google that you're a relevant answer to that. And it actually will help you come up organically in search results without ever having to advertise. Cool? So you can jump into that tool and start playing around with words after a meeting. Not right now. And certainly after business hours, when it's not prime time for you to be contacting your prospective clients. Cool? All right. On to our topic for today, which is how to complete your sales playbook template. Now, some of you have already have my sales playbook template, but if you don't, I'll drop a link in below. You don't even need a template to do it. It just saves you like how many hours it took me to put together these templates for you. So maybe 60 hours, because this one is, and I've amped it up in the last year. So if you have a free version of this, go grab the paid version, because I've included, it went from 18 pages to 60 pages and it includes like all kinds of checklists and infographics to get your team launched into marketing strategies and things like that. So it's stuffed with all kinds of goodies to make it easier for you to develop your sales plan. And of course, we could talk about ways that we could work on one-on-one to help you complete that. But I'm going to tell you how to complete it yourself in a mini workshop online today. So I'm going to go through the sections of the sales playbook step by step, and then you can see how it applies to your business. So actually, I think I'm going to need to pull up the other sales playbook that I have. Here we go. Okay, I know you can't see my screen because live videos don't let you do that on YouTube. But when you get your sales playbook, or if you want to make your own template, whatever, that's fine. So you'll understand what the headings are and the structure as I go through the work with you today. But basically, you'll have the purpose of a sales playbook is to put into writing, to document your sales process for you and your team. So even if you're an independent salesperson and you don't have a team yet, doing the exercise of writing out every step of your sales plan, not just the steps, but word for word, what you're going to say, everything scripted out, is an immense learning experience. When you see it and you get to take the time to work and craft the words and put them in the right place that's most effective to help your customers, nothing can compare to that. So the alternative is we practice on our customers. We try to remember what worked, maybe what they reacted to and didn't, and try and do that over and over, but without any sure way of knowing what was working and what wasn't working, or remembering exactly what we did to make it work. So if you're already doing sales calls, get in the habit of recording them and going back and listening to them, because you might have your sales playbook already created in a strategy that is working for you. And when I say working for you, I mean 50% or more closing ratios. 70 to 80% is ideal, like you're humming. So, and I'm talking off of the presentation or the demo. If you've already reached that metric, then likely what you're doing is working, and you have a lot of calls, and you have at least 10 to 15 demos or calls a week, and 50 to 70, 80% of those are converting. You're on the right track. If you don't have those conversion ratios, or you don't have that many appointments, then probably what you're doing is not fine-tuned enough yet. So we don't want to put what's not working into your playbook, but we do want to put what's working into your playbook. But if you go back and listen, you can actually hear things on the call that you couldn't hear when you were doing the call live. So you'll hear intonations in the customer's voice, you'll hear breaths being taken or exhaled, and you can get clues as to when you're connecting with them and when you've lost them. So, okay. So like I said, as an individual, hugely important. As a person running a sales team or intending to build a sales team, insanely important. I ran my business for the first year without a sales playbook. And this was before we called them sales playbooks. And I said, I am repeating myself over and over with new reps. And then they forget everything I told them. So it didn't matter anyway. But if I had it all documented in a spot where they could reference, well, I got into the habit of when they would ask, hey, how do I, overcome this objection, or where do I find this thing, or whatever, I'd say page 15. because I knew exactly where to find the cold call script or the email script, right? So I wasn't repeating myself, and that allowed me to scale very quickly. Many of you know I built a 9-figure revenue sales team, and that's because I implemented strategies like this. That once you have a strategy that works, scaling it, right? I think people get in the mistake of scaling something that's not working yet, thinking that somehow scaling it's going to make it work. Like, I can't make sales, so if I hire a salesperson, we'll have sales, right? But if you don't have a strategy that works, the salesperson's like, well, what do I do? They're trying to figure it out. And then they hire somebody else, and then they're trying to figure it out. So, or they're using something that's not working optimally, and they're just repeating that process every time you hire a new rep. So insanely important to get that strategy down first and then put it into a playbook. So as we go through this playbook, I give you really cool directions. So the science behind why people buy, it's a combination of a training tool and a sales playbook. So this template you'll get if you choose to download the one I have for you is text or PDF, right? That you can create a PDF document out of. But it is a hybrid training and sales documentation tool, a manual, really. If you read the E-Myth, it's all about creating manuals and processes for all the departments in your organization. Read that if you haven't. But I also have this amped up version of a sales playbook that is all digital and online and all video based, which if you are more progressed as a sales team, that's an awesome solution for you that we offer here at JPM Sales Partners. So the first thing you're going to do is the first section is all about an introduction to the company. Now, and keep in mind, this is for the best way you can design this is for new sales reps, right? Even if you don't have your first sales rep, think about your first new sales rep that you're going to hire when you start scaling your team, or your 15th sales rep, or your 50th. The first thing is, if you've watched my recruiting videos, you know that recruiting is a sale, right? You have to convince them to work for you, but to continue to work for you. So even in this first page of the template, we are reminding our salespeople why they took a job with us and getting them on board with the mission. Okay, before we concentrate on compensation or the products or anything like that. So the first thing you want to do is outline what your mission is. Get them on board. Meet the company, right? First step in sales is relationships. So how our company started? What's that story? What kind of awards have we won? This is important for your clients, but it's also important for your salespeople to build confidence about what they're selling. And then you're going to introduce them to the executive team. Sometimes they never, depending on the size of the company, they never get to actually meet the executive team. Or if they do, unless they go out and do their own research, they don't have an idea of their background. This helps build credibility and respect amongst the executive team. Because with that respect and credibility, they'll then follow the process that you've outlined for them and be confident in what they're selling. A lot of this is confidence in what they're selling. Remember, you might be totally confident in your product, especially if you're the founder and you've created it. But the salespeople, even though they've taken the job, they may probably took it for the money first, and they saw an opportunity, but they'll immediately come in skeptical, as they should. And they may or may not express that to you, but know that they're coming in skeptical, and you need to sell them on this amazing product continually through the training. And that's going to help exude a level of confidence to their salespeople. Okay, so then you're also going to share with them the organizational chart so they understand and they get a clear picture of who's who in the company and what the process is of what the hierarchy is and the structure. And then this is a simple one that doesn't seems like an obvious, but the company website, and then telling them that they need to read every page of the company website. I hope it's not too long, but it's amazing how many salespeople don't know their own website thoroughly. And then when clients call and they say, oh, I saw this thing on your website, can you tell me more about it? And they don't know, it really drops their level of credibility and expertise when they don't even know their own website. So make sure they've read every single page of the website. They'll probably learn a lot just from that, right? And then make sure they check out all of your social media profiles and see who's there, how people are interacting. Make sure they connect with all of your pages. It's a great time for them to update their own LinkedIn profile, that they have a new role, and also make sure that it's a professional profile and it's optimized for LinkedIn results. Then section 2, we're going to start talking about the market. Okay. We want to define for our salespeople, what's the problem? We've come so far to this point to launching a direct sales team that you may even take for granted the problem that you set out to solve in the first place. So we want to go all the way back to the beginning, say, what was the inspiration? What was the problem that we set out to solve? And really getting the salesperson to understand the problem, not the solution, not who else is solving the problem yet, but just the problem. What is the huge problem here? And what is the cost of not solving it for our customer? Okay. So what's the problem? And then you just as much detail as you can describe about the problem you solve, any supporting stats, research, statistic, white papers that you can help educate your salespeople on what the problem is. Okay. You're going to include all of those there. And then you're going to outline the solution, but not your solution. You're going to outline what is the overall way that people go about solving this problem, right? So it's nothing about our product in particular, because our product is probably one of a bunch of competitors within that solution. So for instance, I gotta come up with something off the top of my head. Let's say someone has a problem training their dog. And there's a bunch of different ways that they can, they don't have a problem training their dog. The problem is their dog doesn't listen to them, right? And it pees all over the house. Right? So let's say this is their problem and they want to go about to solve it. First, the number one solution is people don't do anything, right? That's always going to be your biggest competitor, is that people don't do anything. Sadly, in the example I gave you, that's pretty gross, but they might not do anything. Why? Maybe because time, maybe because of money, maybe, right? All these things that maybe they just didn't get around to doing anything, so they don't do anything. Second is, in that instance, they could buy a book on training a dog. They could buy like contraptions that help with potty training for your dog, like pads and gates and all that, right? Then they can also buy a video, like a DIY how to train your dog video series or something. They could watch a TV show about it, right? The Dog Whisperer. They could hire a dog trainer. There's all those different things that they could do to solve that one problem. And if you're a dog trainer, then you'll have competitors within with other dog trainers, but you also have the competition of dog training books and dog training equipment and things like that. All the places that now they could do more than one of those things, and people often do buy a book and get a trainer, right? Watch a video and get a trainer, or watch a video and get a book, or get all these contraptions and get books and trainers and all that, depending on how bad the problem hurts. So outline the landscape of all the ways that your client can solve this problem. Like, how do you keep track of your contacts? Well, guess what? A lot of people still do that on paper, okay? In an address book or in a Rolodex. Or you can do it on a spreadsheet, or you can do it in a CRM, right? So if you provide a CRM, your competitors aren't just other CRMs. They're also spreadsheets and paper and a box of business cards and all the other ways that people solve this problem. especially if you're the only, like you're the first to market for any of those things, those other competitors become even more important because people haven't even heard about your solution yet. And then you're going to define what your solution is specifically. Okay. And this is where you educate the salesperson on what your products are. Now, that might be as easy as referring them to pages on your website if you have lots of detail, or brochures. A lot of the stuff you probably already have written, but this is where you'll explain to them your product offering, and then also any supporting articles about how your product solves the problem better than any other solution. Okay. And also definitions, like help them understand what the language is in the marketplace. What are the words that people are using and what do they mean? I would put at least 10 different definitions in there, and don't take for granted that your salespeople will come in knowing anything, and don't take for granted that they're going to do this on their own because they won't. Just from experience. So a lot of this sales playbook also will show them what they don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. So you're not going to know off the bat what words to look up until you're in front of clients and you don't know what a word is, right? So we want to give that to them. What are the terms often used in our business, and how to define them. And then you're going to go on to define who your target market is. Now, target market is a very broad definition that, where are they located? What's their age range if it's a consumer? Or what's the size of the company? What industry is it in? And what department in that company are we targeting, right? You can drill down on any of those things, but that's your broad market definition, because you can sell a CRM, and you can sell a CRM specifically to general to sales teams. You can sell a CRM for people to hold their personal contacts in, right? Because why not be organized? Or you can focus on SaaS companies, or you can focus on, multi-level marketing teams and a CRM for them. So even within that, you're going to help narrow it down. And this helps the salesperson on where to target, how to know who to say yes and who to say no to when they come across a lead, or even someone, at a networking event or something like that. And then you're going to define very specifically who your ideal customer is. And in many cases, you'll have more than one ideal customer. So you might have the person in the organization who's actually going to use your product versus the person who's going to buy it or make the decision, right? So you might have a salesperson using it, and the VP of sales is going to make the decision on it, right? And might use it a little bit, but the salesperson's using it every day. So you'll need to know who those people are and what motivates them. What are their deepest, darkest dreams and desires? You need to know them better than anybody else. In my course, the Sales Launch Code, and my coaching programs, I call this the character study, right? We're going to do a character, because you guys know I have a theater background, right? So before you do any show, you do a character study, and you dive deep into your customer's head beyond, what's listed on their LinkedIn profile, what their education is, or what their professional background is. We really want to dive into their personal lives. What ticks them off, right? And then especially what ticks them off about this problem that you're solving. And we want to try to use the words that they would use also to explain it. And so you're actually going to pull the LinkedIn profile from an ideal customer that you have and paste their picture right there. And this is going to help your salesperson really make the connection personally with someone and you. So really easy that, open up LinkedIn and put in those criteria that you just created for your target market, put those into LinkedIn, and then, include the title of a person that you're looking for. That would be like the decision maker or the user. Again, you're going to have multiple depending on the complexity of your sale and how many people are involved, and how much they're involved, because sometimes people are involved, but they're not really that involved. So paste their picture there, paste the link to their LinkedIn profile. When a person reads this and then clicks on that link, they get so much information about who they're marketing to. Because you can even go through their career history and see, what led them to this position. What else have they done? You'll see similarities in people in certain roles. Your ideal customers will have similarities. And that's really what you want to pick up on. Because if like salespeople, they're very athletic, usually sports driven, competitive, right? I am too. I'm very competitive. I don't consider myself an athlete, but I am very athletic, I guess. But I'm very competitive. So that could help you in a cold email if you talked about the Super Bowl the night before, it could help you connect with 90% of your audience, right? Maybe not everybody's into it, but if that's a huge commonality in your audience, then go for it. That's the whole point of doing this exercise. And then after you've identified who those people are and identified not only the logic, but the emotion as to why they'll buy, that kind of goes too much in depth than I could talk about right now. But then you're going to go into defining the competition. Here's how I want you to think about competition. I want you to think of competition as when my customer has this problem and they jump into Google to find an answer to this problem, what comes up? Now, figuring out what words they're using is what we talked about earlier in SEO. But what comes up when they're searching for how to keep your dog or how to train your dog, right? Those are all of my competitors. Now, I might say, if I'm a dog trainer specifically, I would say dog trainers near me or something, right? And that's going to help me define who are my direct competitors, right? We talked about all the different ways you can train your dog to solve this problem of your dog not listening. And one of them is hiring a dog trainer. All those dog trainers would be your direct competitors. Even if you use different methods, different personalities, you work with a special breed. Well, I guess if you only worked with one breed, that would be a competitive advantage, but any dog trainer would be your competitor. So you'll want to list for your salesperson, who are the top 10 competitors, or top 5, really. But really, it's to educate them on what their customer knows before they ever get on the phone with them. Okay, and that's usually through a simple Google search. So again, your people probably aren't going to do this, and it helps. So you're just doing it for them and making sure that they are aware of these names, especially because at least if they don't know everything about their competitors on the first day, I mean, they won't, but at least they'll recognize the name and it won't be so foreign to them, right? And then you're gonna outline real quick what are the advantages of that company and the disadvantages. But really simple bullet points. Like if you had to say why us over them, what's the one thing, the one main reason why we're different? And also outline the costs of each of those so they don't have to go searching for the cost. And that'll give them an idea of where we sit competitively as far as pricing. Even if we're the most expensive, I'm sure that's justified with some kind of extra added value or, service. And then you're going to list your indirect competitors. So if I searched dog trainers near me, now I want to just search dog training, because then I'll see what are the indirect competitors. There might be like a #1 best-selling book. There might be a course that's like, don't hire a dog trainer, take this course instead. That's a competitor. So you want to list who are your competitors, what's their website, what are their advantages and disadvantages, and the costs associated with them as well. And then you're going to link up all different kinds of resources in order to help them understand the competitive landscape, as well as like any top 10 lists in your industry, things like that, to really educate them on the competitive landscape. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people or salespeople and like who are selling to me, and I ask them about a competitor. I said, you know what? I got a similar offer from so-and-so. What's different about that? Oh, I never heard of them. Or I never heard of that offer or something like that. It's like, really? Like, this is what you do all day and you don't know your main competitor who's showing up number one on a Google search. So it really helps with the credibility, and it also helps your salespeople be more confident going in. There's no surprises. And then section 3, we go into strategy. You want to outline for your agents or your salespeople, what is the overall strategy? And this could be as simple as, like, we have a direct sales strategy. Salespeople, talk to our customers directly and convert them, right? Because that's different than going through brokers or distributors or things like that. Whatever it is, you want to outline what's the overall strategy. And then you want to outline what your sales targets are for the next 3 to 5 years. And that helps the salesperson understand how they fit in within your overall sales goal, right? They might have a certain quota or expectation. How does that fit in with your overall sales target? Because it's a buy-in of their responsibility towards your company meeting its goals, okay? So they can see how they play a part in that. This is not where you outline what their quotas or expectations are. This is still, again, getting them on board, getting them excited about where the company's going and how they're a part of it. So, like, I have it as a chart in my template where it's like, here's the year, here's the sales target, and here's the percentage of growth from the prior year. And then you're going to go and explain what the sales funnel is. I like to use images. I've got an image for you in mind that describes in a visual what are the different phases of the sales cycle, and then defines them step by step. What is this step? What is the discovery stage? What happens? And the reason why we take the time to define them here is because we all want to be, whatever words you use too, right? Like, you don't have to use my words. But whatever words you use to describe the different phases of your sales cycle, you want everybody to be on the same page, right? Because then when you're updating your CRM, or, I instead of saying like, a lot of CRMs are built to just say like, what's the percentage likelihood to close this deal, right? And that's a totally opinionated, subjective on the behalf of the salesperson, right? Like, who's gonna close and who isn't, right? Like 99%, but most of them are like, oh, they're 99% closed. I just have to do a presentation. It's like, what? That's not 99%. They said they have to think about it, but it's 99%. So we don't want to give that opportunity to have numbers in our system that don't mean anything. But when you clearly define what are the phases of the cycle, and then you put in your CRM, instead of updating the percentage, they're going to update the phase that they're in. Like, they've booked a discovery call, or they've booked a demo, right? And then they've completed the demo. All those things, that's a better indicator of how close they are to buying. If we know what our numbers are from conversions from one step to another, then we can predict based on where people are in the sales funnel what our numbers are going to be in the future. And then when we know that, we can throw more into the top of the funnel and just scale the results. And then you're going to let them know what is the expected sales cycle. And that might be different for different products. So you might have one product that closes within a month and another that maybe takes 3 months to close or 6 months, depending on the company and the organization. What's the typical sales cycle from the first contact to actually, closing the deal and getting a check? So you're going to describe all of those phases. And then in section 4, you're going to start teaching them about your marketing strategies. And this is where you're going to outline your elevator pitch. In my course, it's called the 60-second commercial, because that's really what it is. Just giving people a commercial. It's not selling them, just getting people excited, hitting those emotional triggers that we talked about from your ideal customer character study exercise. And then you're going to outline for them the top 3 marketing strategies that work for generating leads in your business, even if you provide leads. Because, and I highly suggest you provide leads to your salespeople so they're focused on selling and not on lead generation, because they're very different parts of the funnel, different messaging and all of that. But even if you provide leads, I always tell my salespeople, if you really want to launch into the stratosphere and do 300% of quota like the top agents do, then you need to do your own lead generation. And whatever the company provides should be max 50% of what you're actually bringing in. So that's a combination of referrals and networking. And what I teach my students in the sales launch code when they're just developing these strategies is test out all 13 strategies that I give you on a mini scale, and then pick the top 3 that are working consistently. You'll find that 3 of the 13 for your business will generate consistent results, and then you could throw more money into those results, of course, once you've mastered closing them. So we're going to outline the top 3 strategies for generating leads and give them a step-by-step script and process to follow to convert to generate a lead here. We're focused on generating leads and also give them an idea of all the ways that they can generate leads on their own. And one of these strategies might just be how to follow up on on pre-generated leads that you're either purchasing or sales development team is building are growing for you. So how to convert a lead into the next stage, how to properly talk to a client that has already been introduced to your company. And then I like to include all kinds of graphics to help them with that. So again, we're outlining and giving them as much information about the different strategies, whether it's a trade show. In my template, I think I share with you my strategies for being a trade show titan and my cold email scripts. That is super valuable. I can't believe I included that. And then we're going to move on into what happens after. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, I have there's a tracking sheet you should provide. What are the expectations as far as marketing? What are the expectations of how many leads you're bringing in the funnel and what are the conversions? And helping them keep track of that. I include an old school tracking sheet because I really actually love doing this at my desk. Instead of having to click back and forth and update things, I can check off each of the activities I did in addition to whatever I have to update on the CRM. But this gives me a real-time picture of where I'm at in the week with my targets. Instead of having to go back and run a report in the CRM, which you typically would do at the end of the week, I want to see real time on my desk in front of me without having to click to another screen or anything like that, where I am with my targets. And then you're going to jump into section 5, which is the discovery phase, or setting qualified appointments, the consultation, so many words for that. But we're going to take them through step by step how to properly qualify a customer and set up a qualified demo. So what are the exact questions that you must have answered before you're allowed to schedule a demo? This is really important too if you're having another team set the appointments. Because if their goal is just to set an appointment that shows up, they're going to ask the minimal questions it takes to get to that goal. But if a salesperson has the motivation of closing the deal, so they're going to ask questions up front that an appointment setter wouldn't, to actually disqualify people that they know can't buy later, right? So when you have different motivations and different compensations kind of working against each other, you have to make sure that those questions are answered so that your discovery phase is eliminating people. That's the whole point, really, is really to eliminate. You've heard go for the no. You want to eliminate people so that you're not spending time with people who can't say yes right now, right? They might be able to say yes later, and that's part of how you qualify them. But if they can't say yes right now, it's not time to schedule a demo. And we take you through step by step. I think I gave you the clues in here of what those questions need to be, like the 6 questions that you have to ask, and then how to qualify them for your specific product or service. And then we go over in the sales launch code, we give you examples of how to do that, and you can role play with us and everything like that. It's fun. And then finally, the big day. We take them through what happens when you show up, whether it's face-to-face or a live online demo, it's the same thing. How you're going to conduct this presentation to close, or it's a consultation, whatever it is. I prefer face-to-face in all situations. So even if that's a virtual face-to-face, it helps develop rapport and build credibility and trust. So you're going to take them through what happens the moment they walk in the door. Well, rewind the discovery. What happens after they set an appointment? Like, do they send out a calendar invite? Do they send out this email? What's the exact process? And by the way, everything that you put into this sales playbook can be transferred to any other of the amazing tools that are available to you within your CRM. Like, you've heard of sales. Some companies call them sales playbooks in your CRM, but they're actually like a tool to display the next part of the sales process at the appropriate time. Like, it'll say, send this email now. But as far as what you load into that, like what are the emails, what are the calls, that's what your sales playbook is all about, is scripting out all of those things in a formulated way that's most optimized towards you getting a sale at the end of the day. So now you're going to outline what happens from the moment they walk in the door, the moment they launch that Zoom call. I did mine on Zoom. What happens? Take them step by step, and I give you a lot of clues in my template of what are my 8 steps to closing the sale. But basically, you're going to develop a relationship. You're going to qualify them again, and then if they still qualify, then you're going to pre-close them, and then you're going to, only if they agree to the pre-close, you'll do a presentation. By this time, you have a 90% accurate, 90% predictability that they're going to buy if they agree to the pre-close at this point, which is awesome, because if they don't agree, then you don't spend an hour talking to someone who can't buy. And instead of saying you wasted your time, you're not going to waste your time, because you're going to use that hour to prospect for new clients, and you're going to add another 20 clients into your funnel. Okay. So it's never a waste of time to not present to someone who is not qualified. Now, you might be saying, well, what if they know someone who can use this? Well, we do tell them enough to be able to share it with someone else, but we don't show them inside the product or anything like that, because what'll happen is, if they're not ready to buy now, whether it's because their decision maker's not there, or they don't have the money right now, or they're actually looking for something for a year from now, whatever, then you present to them, they can't buy, so obviously they say no, right? But then when it is time for them to buy something, they think they already know everything they needed to know from you, and they don't even call you again to come in, because they think they have all the information. But what they don't have, well, maybe your product changed, so they probably don't have the actual logical part of the information. But what they don't have that they could have had was that emotional connection to your product. And that's what sells. If you haven't already gone through my free sales training on the science behind why people buy, do that, because it's an awesome lesson on why people really buy. But if you don't do the presentation at the time that they can buy, then you eliminate that emotional connection that they need in order to buy. So the whole point of setting up a process is to create an environment where they can say yes at the time that they're most likely to say yes, which is right after the presentation. Okay? So if you qualify them and you figure out that it's not the right time to buy, you need to reschedule that or follow up for a time that is appropriate, even if they try to talk you out of it, because you know that they can't actually buy, and then they won't buy because they won't have that emotional connection that happens that through the storytelling process of the presentation. Okay. And then you're going to give your salespeople the whole presentation. You're going to give them videos of people doing the presentations. You're going to have the whole transcript written out. Don't let them try to guess anything on their own. They might be able to, play with it a little bit later once they have predictable results. Then they can start. Then you're like, okay, do what we do that works first. And then if you want to play with it, then at least you'll have something to compare it to. You'll have like the test group versus the what's that word in science experiments? They have the static, the comparable, and then the variable. So you want to have it scripted word for word for them on what's working, and words are really important. Certain words sell and other words unsell. And we subconsciously communicate objections that we have through our sales presentations, that if a salesperson is left onto their own to create these scripts just based off of slides, then they're gonna naturally communicate some of their own objections or lack of confidence in the product, which they will have in the beginning. It's unavoidable. So this will help them ramp up quickly if you give them the exact words, and then you can see when they're straying from those words. And those are usually things that they've inserted because they don't feel confident about something. Like if they feel like they need to justify the price with 10 other bullet points, after they say, okay, the price is $9.97. Oh, and you're getting this and this and this. And it's, I heard somebody say, he ended it with the price, and then he said, and it's totally worth it. You won't regret it. I promise. You have my word, all this stuff. I'm like, why'd you say all that extra stuff after the price? It's like, you just told me that you actually don't believe it's worth it. You had to add all that justification, right? So these are things that salespeople do, subconsciously communicating to their clients. If you give them that initial launch board, they'll still try to change it anyway, which is why you need to hear what they're doing at all times. They will change it, I promise. So you're going to include videos. Ideally, you'll want to include actual sales calls with customers, videos of them. So if you're doing online, that's super easy to do. Even on Zoom, it'll automatically record it for you. And you want to include when they made the sale and when they didn't make the sale. Don't be afraid to show new salespeople when someone doesn't make the sale. It does a couple of things. One, it helps the salesperson become that objective viewpoint. Now look in and say, what did that person do? What could that person have done differently to close the deal, to help identify what the problem was? They can help see early in the sales process what the customer was doing or saying that were indicators that they weren't going to buy, okay? And vice versa. But it's usually more helpful to see a sale that didn't close than a sale that did close, okay? You want to show both, of course. It's also going to increase their confidence, actually. Even if the person didn't close, it increases their confidence because they could see that just because a person doesn't buy doesn't mean what happens in our heads is we think the person's going to be angry, they're going to feel like it was a waste of time, they're going to get frustrated, all this stuff, which is never the case, right? Because you've developed a great relationship with them regardless. So if they say, no, it's not for us, it's not like, they're not saying like, wow, this is the crappiest thing I've ever seen. You should be ashamed of yourself for marketing this, right? And that's actually what the salesperson's afraid of hearing. You don't know anything. You're pretty dumb, aren't you? I asked you 3 questions you didn't know the answers to. So I'm not buying today. This is what actually goes on in salespeople's heads. So if they can see someone on your team not make a sale and not fall apart over it, then that helps build their confidence in going in and getting a no as well. That they're not going to fall apart and it's not as bad as they thought, and they're still on good rapport so that they can build referrals off of it. And like I said, they can diagnose maybe why the sale wasn't working why it wasn't working in the first place. And then you're going to show them how to close the deal, how to overcome objections. You're going to list your top objections that you get. You know it. If you've sold anything, you know that there's some objections every single salesperson gets, especially if they didn't set up the sale properly or qualify properly. But here we want to focus on the ones that we get even if we've qualified properly, okay? Like, how come it doesn't come in blue? I really want blue. I really wanted pink. Why doesn't it come in pink? Indicators that they're not going to buy, and then appropriate responses that incorporate the emotional and logical need that customers have to overcome those objections. To me, if you don't overcome an objection properly, that would make or break a sale for you. It's like the test. Do you really believe in what you're doing? Because if you can't overcome it, sometimes people are afraid to buy, right? This is some of the psychology behind buying. They're all innately afraid to buy and make a decision. So even if they don't really have objections, they're going to ask objections because they're still trying to buffer themselves from making a mistake. So how you handle those objections from an emotional intelligence standpoint is immensely important as whether or not you'll overcome them, which is, of course, whether or not you'll buy. And finally, not finally, but then how to crystallize the sale, how to make sure that you prevent buyer's remorse and properly outline next steps, and then how to get referrals in a non-cheesy, slimy way. And then you're going to tell them exactly what to do, whether they made the sale or not, what are the next steps as far as paperwork, CRM, all those things. What departments do you have to update? What's the workflow? Okay. So some of this is strategy, some of this is motivation, some of it's just outright workflow so that they can go back to this, especially when they're getting started, that they don't skip a step, and they have the assurance that it's all there. And then you're going to move into section 7, which is what happens after the sale. What's your retention plan? What's your renewal plan? How is the salesperson involved? What do they need to do in order to renew a client or upsell a client, or make sure that they stay happy, in addition to whatever customer service is doing? Customer service is an extension of the sales process, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, that is always right. The customer service is an extension of the sales process. So when someone has a problem, customer service needs to reiterate basically why it's a great product in order to overcome that problem, right? They'll fix the problem, yeah, but they also need to keep the customer. So it is a sale every time someone calls customer service. And you want the salesperson to be as involved as they can without taking them away from their job. But if it's something escalates and they need a salesperson involved, get them involved to remind them. The salesperson should have great notes as to why the customer bought the product and be able to remind them of, why they should stay and why they should renew. And then section 8 is all about your CRM. I hope you have one. If you don't, what are you waiting for? I don't know. But it's basically going to help you keep track of all those contacts and databases and the next steps, and help you run reports really easily. But what I wanted you to do in your playbook is to give them step-by-step a tutorial on how to use your CRM and how you like to use your CRM. Just because someone used Salesforce before doesn't mean they use your Salesforce. If you've been in 2 different Salesforces, they could look totally different because everyone has their set up differently. And even if it looks the same, you might have different ways that you use it. So you really want to outline for them how you use the CRM, how you expect them to use the CRM, how to upload a contact, how to run a report, things like that. Then section 9 is accountability and rewards. Very important. Developing strategic sales compensation plans and incentive plans that keep people rewarded and motivated, continually motivating your top performers especially, and setting the expectations on what will eliminate them. What are the minimum expectations, and that if they don't reach, they will be asked to leave the team and go on and find another opportunity that's obviously better for them because this one's not working out, right? So in section 9, we're going to outline what are their performance expectations. I have a whole theory on quotas and stuff, but I won't go too much into it now. But whatever those expectations are, you want them clearly outlined. I see too often people keeping salespeople on too long who aren't meeting the expectations. If you don't outline those expectations up front, they don't even know what they are. But it's easy to go back and say, you didn't meet this expectation. We're going to have to ask you to leave. Or maybe your expectation's the expectation and then a warning, and then you get another 30 days to figure it out, and then you're asked to leave. Whatever it is, we want to tell them what it is up front before they start struggling, because you don't want to they don't make 3 sales and then you bring them in and you're like, I have to tell you that our expectations are you make 3 sales in your first week or your right? If that's your expectation, whatever it is, it's fair if you outline it up front and they agree to it, right? Or at least they know about it, especially if you're paying salary. So whatever those expectations are, be clear about them and then be consistent. Make sure that if someone is not meeting those expectations with whatever outlines you gave, warnings and this or that, extra training, help, all that stuff that you're going to do, that you do eliminate them if they don't meet those expectations, because that develops. There's a saying I said in another video that the lowest performing sales rep determines the standards of performance for the team, right? Whatever you're willing to accept from the lowest performing rep is what everyone else knows is the actual standard, no matter what's in your playbook. If you say you have to make 3 sales a month or you're gone, and this person's been making 1 sale a month and they're still there for three months later, now, well, actually your expectation is 1 sale a month because that's what this person is doing and saying. So make sure you don't undermine yourself by setting expectations that you don't plan to enforce. But also, on the other side, we want to make sure that we're rewarding people and fueling them because, like I said, salespeople are competitive and they want to be constantly acknowledged, sometimes monetarily, yes, of course, but in so many other ways that aren't monetary, right? Pats on the back or a look in the eye, like, you can do this, you got this, I'm so proud of you, I believe in you, right? Like, I'm so happy for you, I can't wait to see you fly. All those things where, like, you've got it, you're such a superstar, you're amazing. These things are more important in helping people develop and get more sales for your company than giving them some extra money without that verbal motivation and connection with you as their leader. So, by the way, I will be developing a sales leadership coaching program. Please let me know if you're interested in that, because I have a lot to share about my actual experience developing 30 full-time reps and training hundreds more, letting go of hundreds as well. So I would love to share that with you. If you're interested, please let me know, because we're in the works of doing that. But I love to know that people are interested in before I start, creating things. And you'll want them to know what their expectations are as far as reporting. And what is the actual compensation plan? I get it. Some places you'll have different base salaries. I don't actually recommend it, but I get it that not everybody will be on the same exact plan. But in general, it actually works better, I think, if everyone's on the same plan and commissions and earnings are completely transparent, because it makes it a fair level playing ground, especially in sales when you're paid on performance, okay? So that's why I think sales is one of the best careers to go into, because no matter what your background is, you get paid on your performance. Glass ceilings don't exist, like any biases, whatever, don't matter, because if you perform, you get paid. And if you can have a transparent process where everybody's, whether that includes a base or not, is irrelevant. But if everyone's getting compensated in the same way, outline what is that? And then what are the bonuses and rewards and long-term incentives that go with performance? What do they have look forward to? Monetary, rewards, trips. I mean, people have all different opinions on what makes a good bonus. I would ask your people, but there are some things that I have a sales compensation planning workshop that's still available. If you want the link, let me know. But we go into depth for over, I think, 2 hours about developing effective sales compensation and incentive plans that get people motivated. And part of that is incorporating their family and their spouse, especially if they're married, their boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, even best friend, like whoever's the most important person to them. I've had people take grandmas on their trips because that was the most important person that they wanted to share this pride with, that they achieved something, and this was the person that they wanted to share it with. So, you might think sales trips are outdated, but if they don't involve the family in any way, I would say, yeah, it's not really helping you advance as much as you can as in the solidarity of the team. And then a link to your sales agreement, your comp schedule, terms of employment. Oh, I forgot to mention, backtrack, part of closing the deal, make sure your salespeople actually read the contracts that they're having customers sign. Because I've definitely had salespeople, like, our agreement was like 8 pages long and it was very fine print and they'd never even read it once. And there's a confidence in being able to take the client through section by section and highlighting, like, here's the thing you need to know about this. Here's what you need to know about this. So that they don't say, all right, let me, give me the agreement and I'll have my lawyer review it. In a month, I'll get back to you, right? Because however long the lawyer takes. But because that's not really the issue. The issue is that they just would rather trust you so that they didn't have to read every word of the contract. And so you'll outline them, section by section, what's in the contract. And then section 10 is support. Like, how does the salesperson get support? What's the chain of communication if they have a problem, right? You can't have 100 sales reps calling the CEO when they have a question, right? So make sure you outline who you're supposed to call first. If that person's not available, call this person. But also the expectations of, like, I would tell my agents, like, if you need something, your trainer's the first line of command, right? If your trainer's not available, you can ask me. But if you're on a sit with a client, on a call or demo or whatever, and you need an answer to a question, that is when you have access directly to me on my cell phone. If your trainer's not available, call me next. I will answer no matter what I'm doing. And that was my agreement with them, was that if I saw them pop up on my cell, I knew it was because they were on a call, on a sit, and they had a question with a client that the trainer wasn't available to answer because the trainers were out in the field as well. I wasn't. That's why it's really important that your sales leaders are not selling as well. They need to be accessible at all times. And their top priority has to be the salespeople, not their clients. Cool? It's also part of the sales leadership program. But whatever that is, what are the expectations, right? I can't have 100 people calling me on my cell phone because they can't find where the link is to this or other thing, right? What's the line of communication, and what are the expectations in different scenarios, right? And then maybe you have like a text that's like an SOS text or something, which means they're on a sit and they need you to call them right now. Like a code word. The old beeper days, we used to use those a lot, right? And then finally, section 11 is the conclusion, basically thanking them with gratitude for joining your team. Great salespeople have a lot of choices on where they can sit and be productive. So we want to constantly engage them and make sure that they know that they're appreciated, and that we're there to support them and make sure. Hey, Paul. Hey, Dan. Hi, guys. Sorry, I was in my template, so I didn't get to see the comments. But if you guys don't have, I know if you guys are in the sales launch code, you already have it. But for anyone else who's listening, you can go to template.jpmpartners.com and grab the template. It's a 60-page drag and drop sales playbook template that's stuffed with goodies. And you'll also get an invite to join me on a consult where we could draw your custom closing blueprint if you decide to take advantage of that. But grab your template just because it will save you hours of time creating that. And then know that I'm here to help you with your sales, recruiting, training, leadership, coaching, sales playbook design, and all the little bits and pieces that I've gathered over the years that have proved to work. So have a wonderful week. I will see you on the flip. You guys in the group, we have a coaching call next week. So make sure you get that in your calendar and email me if you don't have the details. But I'm here. I'm on your side. And I want to see you win. Oh, here's my outro.
Monday morning motivator with Magoch.
All right. Bye, everyone.